to the Redskin. Go, Redskin.
What's good, everybody? I wanted to come on today and talk a little bit about some positional needs or team needs heading into the draft. And I realize the draft is a little bit out, but before the combine starts and before all the real breaking down of the players really happens, I really wanted to step in and look at our needs and kind of take a full glance at where we're at right now. And keep in mind that I'm not going to list these in order of what I think are the most important or the priority, which could be set in many cases by whatever way you're looking at the team. In my opinion, if I had a choice, I would say that this year's team should be focused on trying to get the offensive line as strong as they can and as deep as they can per the cap will allow. I realize that a lot of people want us to go in a direction of getting a new quarterback. And I don't know how that's going to play out as far as free agency goes, as far as Alex Smith goes, as far as Colt McCoy goes. But that definitely puts quarterback to the front of our list of thoughts. Now, a lot of folks would really rather the team jump out ahead and grab a quarterback and really take care of that positional need. And I've already heard a couple of reports, a couple of rumors that the team is ready to move up in the draft to get a quarterback. I believe this is the wrong draft to do that in. Now, I've got my eyes on the Duke quarterback. I believe his name is Daniel Jones. I believe there's a couple other teams that are eyeballing him as well. Now, the major reason why he's being eyeballed hard is because he is in a real thin class. Normally, he'd be a second or third rounder. But the way that this draft is lined up, he's probably going to jump up the list and be selected somewhere in the top, I'd say in the top 20. I saw in Mel Kiper's first mock draft that Mel had him at like 28 going to the Patriots. I'm not sure that he'd last that long. I've already heard something about the Broncos being interested in at a quarterback, more of a pocket-style guy, at 10. And then I've heard the Redskins might be looking to jump ahead of them. Now, in my opinion, I hope the Redskins don't do that. I honestly do not want to move into the top 10 to take a quarterback. Now, I know that the team is definitely got question marks at that position, but that's not the only position of need. Now, just because we have that question mark there doesn't mean that we should try to reach and then cause further damage to the team. So trading up, to me, is a bad idea. The team should stay right where they're at or maybe even trade back and try to pick up more picks. Now, that's also me looking at the situation from a position of wanting to fix all needs and not trying to dive into the quarterback position and, taking a major chance in the process. I realize a lot of these teams would rather go on and take their chance because they don't figure to be picking higher any other time in the draft after they get their guy. That might be okay if we were looking at a position that, okay, this is the last position that we need. And at that point, I'd say, okay, we need to go quarterback. Or if we were at the point where we were a 1-15 football team, then I'd say, okay, all hands on deck, let's throw everything in a pile and get a quarterback. The problem is none of these guys that are at the top of the heap, so to speak, are necessarily really worth us doing that. So to me, that's a problem. I don't think it's a good idea to chase after a quarterback that's not really there talent-wise right now. If we're trying to trade 3 or 4 picks to move up into the top, let's say 5, it needs to be for a guy that we're going to guarantee that he's going to start for the next 10 to 12 years. And I don't see a guy in this draft that does that. Looking at these other team needs, left guard is seriously at the top of the heap. Now, I'm not trying to put a number on which one of these picks should be what or which position is of more value than another. But left guard, to me, has been kind of like the Achilles heel of the team. It seems like when the left guard position fails, it seems like the rest of the line, the depth is questioned at that point, and the weak spot there just gives out, and the rest of the line just kind of is poor the rest of the year because of it, obviously. Now, Sean Laval has been there, and the thing is that Redskin coaches fall in love with this guy because he's strong, he's able, he can do the job. The problem is that Laval is injury prone. That is the reason why they were able to get him in the first place, and it was the reason why they were able to sign him to a 1-year, barely nothing contract last year, and it's going to be the one reason why he's available again this year. He has tons of injury issues. You know, he's doing great, and then all of a sudden he gets rolled up on, and he's out for the year. Heading into last year, we had Ari Kunjo that I was looking at that I really thought was going to get a lot of playing time. And then this year, Jonathan Cooper, I thought, did a pretty good job in the limited time he saw action before he ended up getting injured. Now, obviously, if you want to go in a different direction and get away from pre-injured players, you'd want to get rid of all three of these guys. Kunjo is still under contract for 1 more year. I believe Cooper played well enough to come back for at least another 1 year. Prove it. We were able to get him pretty cheap this year off of the free agent, basically garbage pile. But I could see him coming back if the system stays the same. Now, I also can say that I really don't see a guard that's worth taking at 16. Although I believe that Oklahoma guard is worthy of taking a lower first-round pick on. Now, if we were to trade back, he would be somebody that I would really like a lot. But as far as taking a guard in the first round, I'm not certain about that. It's going to take a little while to see these players, see what levels are from the combine. I really don't see a guy that's really worthy in the first round taking at left guard. But we'll look at it more. Cody Ford may slip to the second, which would be ideal if we could somehow get him in the second round. Now, the next position of need on the list is going to be wide receiver for the Redskins, and I'm pretty certain a lot of people would put this as number 1 on their list. We got question marks with what happens with Jamison Crowder. He's looking at $8-9 million a year this year. Josh Doxson still hasn't proven anything. As far as anybody else on that list goes, really honestly, either their prospect level, nothing much more, and the Redskins have a lot of question marks at this position. I heard a couple people say they could bring Djax back in, but Deshaun Jackson's looking for a payday at this point in his career, or he's looking for a ring. I'm not certain this team can give him that, especially with the question marks at quarterback. You got to think if Deshaun gets his last chance to go elsewhere, he's going to try to pick a team with a quarterback that can throw him the ball. What else can I really say there? I know that there are a couple wide receivers in this draft that we could take. I also know that there's a few wide receivers that may be still sitting there in the second and third rounds as well that we could take. We'll have to see how that batch of, prospects lines up, because the draft is always a crapshoot. But I'd rather see the way the combine fills out, especially at that position, because that's the skill spot. I'd like to see how the 40-time stack-ups versus other stuff. But anyway, the next position I want to look at is edge rusher. The team is going to lose Preston Smith. He's going to be trying to get $11 or $12 million a year. Who could really blame him when the market dictates that? In my opinion, he wasn't what we wanted him to be. So even though he's going to dictate $11 to $12 million a year, he's not what we're looking for. So we have to let him walk. So edge rusher becomes a position of need. There are plenty of edge rushers in the top part of this draft. The next position of need would be linebacker. I don't know what the team's going to do with Mason Foster, with Zach Brown, or what's going to happen with Reuben Foster. Hopefully, in a perfect world, they keep Zach Brown, Reuben Foster stays and turns into something. And I don't particularly see Mason Foster coming back just because of the drama that he brought. But middle linebacker or inside linebacker is definitely a position of need on this team. The next one I would look at would be cornerback. Some question marks there. Quentin Dunbar, he missed last year, missed a good portion of last year with a nerve issue in his shin. Not a lot's known about what's going to happen with that, although I have to easily say I thought he was the best corner on the team last year. Everybody's saying that we could cut Josh Norman and get some money back off of it. I don't know which direction the team's going to go with that. Some of the comments he's been making lately kind of make you question whether or not you really want to keep him for the long haul. but we'll see more when it comes to that situation in the coming future. The Redskins also could look to keep him just because, he's a draw. Like the guy talks and people listen. But cornerback is definitely a position of need because it's a fall-off zone behind Dunbar. There's some prospects there, and it'll be nice seeing the way those guys, come up. But at this point right now, there's definitely a fall-off after Dunbar. Safety could be our number one need any day by anybody that talks. Or it could fall into line depending on how you look at what makes a team tick. In my opinion, I'm probably going to say that safety is my biggest concern. With Swearinger, of course, gone, with a free agent, looking at $9 million a year, probably. Now that could change also because he didn't have the greatest year. Hopefully, he gives us a 1 year. Prove it kind of situation because he wants to stay a Redskin. That would be ideal. I'm not certain it happens, though. And then you got Monte Nicholson on the exempt list. I mean, you really are thin at the safety spot. And I know that there's a couple prospects there. But this team really doesn't want to go into next season with prospects playing at safety. They really don't. They should probably want to grab a guy, if they can, somebody that's going to be a big name. At tight end, the next positional need, in my opinion, Jordan Reed, who knows what's going to happen with this? I mean, I know a lot of people want to keep him. I personally would like to hold on to him. Maybe he could get him to restructure, or otherwise maybe ship him out on a trade. I don't know. I'd rather keep the guy because of his talent level. Hopefully he can just stay healthy. I mean, I know he was healthy all this year until the last 2 games, and that's when they ended up sitting him out. And you look at Vernon Davis. I believe we could save like $5 or $6 million on Vernon Davis this year, and he's like 35 or 36. You got to start looking at him and thinking something. I mean, we got Jeremy Sprinkle. He ended up being a really good pick if you really look at it from this standpoint now, that he can block and play and catch. It's good to see him on the field doing big things, because I was wondering if he was going to be a good pick or not. Now, of course, he obviously hasn't turned into a major star, but we're going to see something going forward with him. I like to see him in the game when we're running the ball. Now, last spot I want to look at is probably just a pure center. Now, we have Rouillet right there now, but I believe he could slide over to guard, and we could have a more flexible line. We've already seen what could happen with this line in terms of when injuries strike, and I think it would be better just to add to that depth and get everything the way we want it. And we already see that Rouillet can move from center to guard rather effectively, in my opinion. But I'm hoping that they have a chance to be able to get the most out of the guard position this year, and we're not scaling the dumpster pile again. But I believe that should be a major need that they should address this offseason. Perhaps to maybe even sign somebody from the free agent list. But I'm hoping that they do it within the 8 picks they do have. In my opinion, those are our needs. Hopefully they get a chance to address all of them. And free agency will be a whole different ball game. Be a chance for the team to maybe look for a bargain quarterback and maybe about a couple other plug-in spots. I don't really think that the team is going to sign much in free agency this year. So everybody that always thinks that maybe we're going to sign some free agents, I think they may be a little disappointed this season. But hopefully they are able to make these moves and get the team better so we can get it on point for 2019. But that's all I got, man. Hell to the Redskins.